You know, there's a legend about the Podcast Republic app that if you download it when the moon is full, it causes a change in you. And that change is that your podcasts are easier than ever to listen to. That's right. Download the Podcast Republic app when the moon is full, or literally any other time. I want to make this very clear for legal reasons that this is a bit. And you favorite your podcast and they download directly to your device.
Even on the moors?
Even on the moors. That's the Podcast Republic app on the Google Play Store.
Ow.
Welcome to Dissecting the 80s. I am Trip Lano, one half of the Mega Podcasting Powers. And with me, as always, is my tag team partner, a man who, well, probably would never be sent alone on any mission past going to the grocery store. The Macho Man Drew.
Andrew Lano. I mean, I feel like if it was like a Catwoman-y, Black Widow-y mission, I could do that.
Who's sending you on either a Catwoman or a Black Widow-y type mission? We're not talking about fiction. I'm saying real, actual life that you live right now.
Oh, I don't know.
You wouldn't be in the first 5,000 picks for that.
I mean, like, I know my real role in the espionage world is the Tom Arnold in True Lies. Like, I know that that's me.
At best.
Like, I'm the guy who fakes a heart attack in the airport.
That is a reach for the
to
both
give a
of
distraction.
Us. Yeah, and I want to be very clear here. This is not me like saying like, "Oh, you're terrible and I'm great." I also would nowhere near be these choices. I just thought it was funny that you're like, "Well, you know, some sort of prowlery cat burglary thing really matches with my skills of
I'm sneaky,
having an acting degree."
I'm sneaky and I can climb well.
We are celebrating the release of the fifth and, dear God, let's hope, final entry in the Rambo franchise, Rambo Last Blood, by watching Rambo: First Blood Part 2. So you know what that means.
We gotta go back. We gotta go dissect the 80s. It's your flawlessly self-written character. Something's gotta be done about your flawlessly self-written character.
When the mega powers explode.
I'm talking about the 80s. Oh, yeah.
Great Scott!
Cream of the crop. Oh, yeah.
Mega power, yeah!
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
So I'm guessing I know the answer to this question, but just so everybody knows, you've never seen a Rambo movie before, right? This is your first...
I've seen Gremlins 2.
Okay.
There's an extended Rambo sequence in Gremlins 2.
Doesn't he do that in the first? No, I guess he doesn't. Doesn't he do that in the first Gremlins?
No, the first one is John Wayne.
Huh, okay. I swear.
Or no, it's not John Wayne. The first one is driving, and the second one is where he puts the headband on and he makes the, he puts a pencil in some whiteout and lights the whiteout on fire and shoots it like a bow and arrow.
Okay. I do remember Gizmo putting the headband on, but for some reason I thought that was one. Putting the headband on is like a very mocked thing. It was in the, it might be in Loaded Weapon, but it's for sure in Hot Shots.
Okay, yeah. I haven't seen Loaded Weapon in so long, and I was just thinking about that the other day, because I love that scene between Tim Curry and Whoopi Goldberg.
The Girl Scouts?
Yeah, but the one right after where she's like, "You'll never find it. Their secret hideout is here." And he's like, "Is that on Oak or Elm?" And she's like, "It's on Oak Street." And then he shoots her again. And she's like, "You know what? Park on 13th. You'll never find parking on Oak." And he's like, "Thank you," and shoots her again. Why can't comedies be good anymore? Spoof comedies used to mean something.
Well, they were written, as a movie instead of just like a collection of scenes.
That's a collection of Vine clips?
Yeah, basically. So, okay, Rambo 1, much like Rocky 1, is a totally...
This movie has no previously on.
Nope.
And also banks on the fact that you know exactly what happened up to this point.
I mean, I have to feel like 95% of people coming out for Rambo 2 saw Rambo number 1.
It Chapter 2 came out 2 years after the first one, which broke box office records, and it still has a previously on It. I just need a couple minutes.
I'm not
to
saying
set
you're
me
wrong.
in.
I'm saying but I think our attention span now is like totally different. Like there's no way they'd ever release a sequel without a previously on recap. Like every one of those Avengers movies, they start with like a 4-minute dialogue scene that's like, can you just show me a montage? It would be so much faster and less clunky.
It depends, I think, on the storytelling narrative device that they use in the films, but yeah.
You end up with these like, as you recall, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, oh my God, just do a clip. Just do a bunch of clips. It's fine. It's fine to do that. We all understand that you're making television in movie form. I agree with you. They do not do anything to hold your hand. But secondarily, what I was starting to say is the first Rocky movie and the first Rambo movie are so unlike the sequels that come after it as to like essentially be apples and oranges.
Because like even Rocky 2 is crazy different, right?
Yes, absolutely. So the first Rocky is like, quiet character study about this schlubby loser and his life. The second one gets bigger, and then by the time you hit like Rocky 3, you got wrestlers in there and stuff like that. And then obviously robots in the fourth one. So with the first...
Happy birthday, Polly.
And then randomly he makes it have a sex change so he can have sex with it. It's very uncomfortable. See our Rocky 4 episode for more about that particular line of discussion. But the first Rambo is about a guy who comes home from Vietnam and is sort of like not sure where he fits in the world anymore, doesn't really understand what's happened to the country, to him, to his friends, and ends up in some
frank portrayal of PTSD.
Yeah, I mean, somewhat. It's a little. I mean, it's obviously it's over the top, but only one person dies in the whole movie.
Okay.
And here we have.
So was the first one well regarded?
I don't think it was thought of as like a.
Because I know like Rocky 1 was well regarded.
Well, Rocky 1 won Oscars. I don't. Think,
yeah, that's what I mean.
I don't think this was well regarded in the sense of like, oh, Best Picture winner type deal. But I think it was. Mm-hmm. It was. Reviewed is certainly rated highly and got good reviews as a piece of filmmaking. So
because like reading the behind the scenes of this one and like watching this one with my eyes, it just feels like Stallone wrote a Mary Sue and a Vietnam War fanfic.
Oh, it's definitely a Vietnam War fanfic. I mean, that goes without saying.
But like, apparently he was supposed to have a snappy sidekick, and Stallone was like, "I don't like to hear all the funny lines. This is my movie." And he cut the part. He cut that character out.
And he didn't take the funny line, so now there's just none of that. Yeah. There's almost no dialogue in this movie. It's crazy how quiet it is after they get him on the plane.
It's very bizarre. And apparently Dolph Lundgren was supposed to be the Russian guy in this movie.
Oh, really?
And he was... Yeah, and Stallone was like, "No, he's supposed to be in my movie. He can't be in this one, too."
Rocky...
Like, you're in both, Sly. You're in both.
Yeah, I was going to say, Rocky and Rambo are both played by you. What the hell difference does it make? I would like this movie much better if he did have a snappy dialogue and sidekick. That's what makes Die Hard so great.
That was the idea. He had like a tech guy with him who was like, I guess like a home basey, like pocket computer kind of guy.
Yeah, that makes sense. But what I was driving at there, so the first Rambo, one guy gets killed. In this movie, 69 people get killed, 58 of them by Rambo.
That's it?
Yep.
It feels like there's more than that.
On screen, I'm sure like they're not counting like you can't possibly, when he blows up all that stuff, you can't possibly count.
Yeah,
you see 69 people die. But here's where it gets buck wild. The next Rambo, Rambo 3, which I think is just called Rambo 3.
Electric Boogaloo.
132 people die, 78 by Rambo. And then
Is that still 80s?
Yes. I went back and forth between this one and that one, and the consensus was that this is the much better movie than that one. So, plus this one isn't dedicated to the Taliban. So
that's uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, Mujahideen fighters, but essentially the Taliban. And then the craziest of this is that in Rambo 4, called John Rambo, 236 people are killed.
Was that one in the 2000s?
Yes. And I believe, I may have written this down wrong, but I believe of those 236, 183 of them are killed by Rambo.
He just took the Rocky movie and was like, I'm going to do the same trajectory.
No,
I'm going to do a bunch in the 80s and 90s, take a gap, and then come back hard in the 2000s for a sequel.
Well, the thing is, Stallone didn't have anything going on in his career then. Like, Planet Hollywood failed, and no one had heard from him in years. So he's like,
and there's kind of a reason for that.
I know Rocky Balboa is a good movie. I know you think I'm insane, but it is. It's like it's a very watchable, like, old guy. The premise is beyond stupid. Don't get me wrong. The idea that, like,
is Creed better?
Oh,
than Rocky
100%.
Balboa?
Creed is a excellent movie. Creed is a genuinely excellent movie. I think Creed, frankly, Stallone should have won Best Supporting Actor that year.
Really?
He is phenomenal in that movie. He plays a very, it's so cool that to see a person playing a character 40 years later and getting to do like a nuanced, interesting take on a character that has never been nuanced. Rocky, even in the original movie, is a very kind of broadly sketched, small time schlub. And then in this one, he's dealing with so much stuff, and it's a really good performance. Genuinely, I think it's a very good performance. He deservedly nominated for the Oscar, and I think should have won it. But anyway, in this movie, you get 0.72 deaths per minute. In part 4, you get 3 deaths in every 4 minutes. Okay. So you get so you get 0.72 deaths per minute. You get 3 deaths per minute in part 4.
Wow.
And the first person gets murdered inside the first 10 minutes in part 4. So I've never seen that one.
I won't.
Yeah, I'm not interested in it at all, to be honest with you.
Apparently, James Cameron wrote the first draft, and he was like, it's not the movie they made. Stallone took it and, like, ruined it. He was like, it's gotta have more American politics in it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, so I'm trying to figure out.
It's so Mary Sue that it hurts.
Yeah, but I'm also trying to thread a little bit of a needle here, because I think this is written at a time where the temperature about Vietnam was very different than it is now. I think, one of the things that they kind of allude to, I don't know if he outright, does he mention being spit on in this? Because
yes.
Okay. So
I'm pretty sure.
That's like a really somewhat famous story that's told about Vietnam veterans returning home. And there's a bunch of stories like it that go along with it. Like the soldiers were told to like ditch their uniforms and come home in street clothes, and the people were waiting to spit on them and stuff. And while there are many stories that people have told about being spit on, and I'm not trying to say that it certainly did not happen, because like I'm sure that a Vietnam veteran was spit upon. From all the research that I've been able to glean, because I find this subject very interesting, it's extremely unlikely that it was as rampant as it was portrayed. Because there would have been more evidence of it. There would have been, news coverage and such, especially if people were ditching uniforms en masse at the airport. There would have been, news photos of just piles and piles of, that would have been a
that'd be everywhere.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think
I don't think that I'm not trying to negate the viewpoint of the Vietnam War and from 2019 versus 1985.
Yeah.
It's just it feels so grossly self-serving to write a movie that you're going to star in, and then write this flawless character who goes in and wins the war, and then at the end bravely turns down his Medal of Honor and says, "Give it to those soldiers." And I was like, none of you were real.
Well, he also walks into Thailand it's so. But we'll get there, because that's a whole different thing to unpack.
Yeah, it bothers me that he basically wrote a Mary Sue for himself to play. And was like, this is great. This movie could have been good.
I mean, I don't know that his skills are unearned. I mean, obviously, he knows how to shoot people. I don't think it's crazy. I don't know that that's Mary Sue-ish.
He literally walks in and he's like, I'm a perfect shot every time. I know how to fly every helicopter. I'm perfect for this mission.
I guess. But, ostensibly, he could have training.
It feels like he's the only man for the job. Presumably other soldiers know how to shoot well and fly helicopters.
Yeah, no, you're
right?
not wrong. Absolutely.
And then the whole point is that they basically pick Metal Gear Solid to play Pokemon Snap.
I don't follow.
So he's got this he's a hardened soldier who knows the toils of battle, and then they're like, hey, we don't want you to do any fighting. We want you to go and take pictures.
Well, it's a reconnaissance mission.
But why? He does not seem like.
So,
he doesn't seem like the perfect choice for that, because that doesn't seem like his wheelhouse.
I mean, I would say that knowing how dangerous the situation is, and knowing that you kind of need a one-man army because of the heightened danger, I don't know that it's insane that they send a very trained combat person to take the photos. If he followed orders and didn't start a war, it would have been just snap, 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 get back up and go from there.
Yeah, to me, it's you hired him to go in, do no damage, take a few, basically go on a nature hike, go take pictures, disturb nothing, and come back.
Yeah.
And what is the first thing he does is like, oh my god, he's like Abu in the fucking Cave of Wonders. Don't touch anything.
Right.
First gem he sees, he's like, gotta pick it up.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, he does see a bunch of tortured prisoners, so it's not like I do have some slack for him. All right, let's
just drives me nuts.
Okay, I love what you're saying. I'm not trying to downplay, but put a pin in that, and let's do what we normally do, which is like get there on track, because I do want to talk about this opening scene where we're in jail, like literally breaking rocks apart, like it's 1860. And
I was like, why? Why is he in jail?
He's been sentenced.
What happened?
Well, so he does get arrested at the end of the previous movie. That's established.
For what?
So, okay.
That's what,
all right, here's Rambo 1 in like 4 sentences. Vietnam vet comes to this town that's called Hope. Looks very disheveled, practically homeless. He meets up with the wife of one of his buddies who's been killed. Talks to her for a while, is on his way out of town when the sheriff picks him up. The sheriff is like real shitty and is like, oh, you're not welcome here. Kind of like drives him to the end of town and leaves. And then Rambo and he like get into it and he ends up getting arrested. Like they end up having a verbal altercation, like they yell at each other and stuff. Again, it's been a long time, so please, folks out there, if you're like screaming about me getting the details of Rambo wrong, I just need the broad strokes.
I just need the opening paragraph on Wikipedia that says Rambo is an action film.
So he gets arrested in this small town. The cops in this small town like beat the piss out of him and like really are just awful to him. And then he breaks out and they go out. There's like a whole manhunt sequence where he's, like fighting these guys essentially. So that one came out in 1982. This one, like we said before, is 1985. But so it's, they beat him up. Oh, that's what it is. When they beat him up, he gets like flashbacks.
Okay.
And so he fights his way outside, runs into the woods, and there's a search party. And then they're like, oh my God, this guy's a Medal of Honor. He's a Green Beret. And da-da-da-da-da. And so they're trying to shoot him. And he's like fleeing from these cops through the woods. It's like a sort of cat and mouse game.
Okay.
So eventually they shoot and shoot and shoot, and he eventually surrenders to the guy who pulls him out of prison here, Richard Crenna's character, Samuel Troutman.
Gotcha.
So I do love like the insane Wikipedia articles for stuff like this. So I'm not going to read this whole thing because who could possibly care? And I'm sure these details are like in the movies or probably actually more realistically, probably from the novelization, but the level of...
And this is Wikipedia, not the Rambo
Correct.
wiki.
This is actual
right?
Wikipedia, and this is the bio of that character, who I think is at least in 3 of these movies, might be in 4. I'm not sure, but it says Colonel Sam Troutman is the secondary character in the franchise. He was born July 6, 1929, in Columbus, Ohio. After graduating from Hilldale High School in his hometown and receiving a BA in sociology from the University of Texas in 1950, Troutman joined the United States Army through the ROTC. When in these Rambo movies are they like taking a time out to tell you that he went to high school at Hilldale and he got a BA in sociology? Maybe he would say that. I could see the BA in sociology being like a throwaway line, but it's just such a weird.
Or they just freeze framed on his office.
Yeah, that's more likely.
And like zoom and enhance.
Yeah, you're more likely.
Speaking of wiki, there's a. I discovered that there's a Wikipedia, the wiki for Are You Afraid of the Dark? Mm-hmm. Is very detailed.
Of course it is.
Each episode has 2 paragraphs to describe the intro of the kids sitting around the campfire, 10 paragraphs of the actual plot of the story that gets told, and then 2 more paragraphs to cover the wrap up at the end after the kid like regain on the kids in the campfire.
Great googly moogly, that's insane.
I was like, that's a sad person.
Anyway, so Troutman comes to see Rambo while he's breaking rocks. Why is he breaking rocks as his prison sentence? That's a good question. I don't know. It doesn't really make sense. I guess they're slowly making gravel.
What rocks is he breaking? I don't know.
Slowly making gravel. It's the slowest gravel creator in Earth.
Like at least be mining.
Yeah, no, I mean it's just hard labor. Right? It's like a prison labor camp, which I know is a thing in certain places and certainly was in the United States in certain times. But the idea of just like breaking rocks is hilarious to me. I think they were at a similar place in the Superman 4 we did.
Yes, I think so. At the end.
Well, in the beginning too, when they break Gene Hackman out, he's like breaking rocks.
Oh, right. Charles Napier, friend of the pod.
Yeah. So he wants to send Rambo back to Vietnam, and this whole movie is extremely sweaty. But it starts here with these actors portraying the guards who have like deep V's of sweat in their back. It's just like from shoulder blade to butt crack is this deep V of sweat, and all I could think of was like either they applied that, which is unlikely,
No.
or they've been shooting this scene a lot of times, which means that Stallone and or Richard Crenna had a real tough time getting through this 3-page scene, maybe.
Well, friggin' Stallone's wearing a tank top.
Yeah.
He's cool as a cucumber.
Exactly.
What does he care?
Yeah, he doesn't have to worry.
You know what? I forgot. Can we just do it 3 more times just to be safe?
Can we get cross coverage? I feel like we don't have enough cross coverage.
Maggie, where's my eye line here? Where's my sight line?
But he's apparently been there for 3 years when they bust him out. So they bust him out.
Okay.
We're gonna kick you back to Vietnam, and he says
He's got primo 80s hair.
it's very
He's got,
feathery,
like,
floaty, Farrah
Rock of
Fawcett.
Ages.
Yes.
Like I expect him to like pick up an axe, like a guitar, not an actual axe, and just start shredding.
Yeah, it's floofy as hell. And we get the classic line of, "Do we get to win this time?" And then Richard Crenna says, "Well, it's up to you." I'm like, oh my God, everything about this is not for me.
So like, hang on, was Sly Stallone ever a veteran, like in the armed forces in any capacity?
Extremely unlikely.
Then like that's why that's so weird to me that like this isn't based on a true story of some guy. This isn't an actual veteran.
I mean,
this is just like
They still,
I'm handsome McHandsome
but they still make,
who wrote a movie for myself.
but they still make troop humper movies like this. This is not new.
Yeah, but the stars don't write those movies. That's what I mean.
I mean,
like
that's
that
a
to me. I
really
don't know why
weird
that to
nitpick
me,
like if what does it matter who writes it?
because it feels so self-serving that he wrote it knowing that he was going to do it.
I mean, you also have to remember at this point, he's like one of the 2 biggest stars in the entire world. Like there is in
guess.
1985, Stallone is only short of Schwarzenegger in terms of this. And because Terminator comes out in 84. Okay, yeah, 84, 92. Yeah, Schwarzenegger becomes bigger, but at this exact moment, Stallone might be the biggest movie star in the entire world.
That's fair.
In terms of like name that will carry you to big box office kind of guy. I mean,
I get it.
So, but like to me, it's no different than like your true pumper movies where it's like the horses in Afghanistan, whatever the hell that was called, that just came out fairly recently.
Oh, I was like, Warhorse?
I feel like Jim from The Office was in it, maybe. But there's several of these movies that come out every year that are very conservative, like very much pro troop or whatever. And I'm not like discussing my personal politics around here. I'm just saying like I don't know what else you call the movie that is just like so rah pro troop or whatever. But so it's like it's not crazy to me that this movie is so pro troop. You know, Vietnam was not a mistake, and we had every right to be there, kind of thing. Because it's like there's a segment of the American population that still feels that way. Go look at how Jane Fonda is treated in 2019 by a segment of the population.
Oh yeah. I forgot
Like
about that.
people still call her Hanoi Jane and all that stuff, and it's just like, okay, I guess we're never gonna let this one go, huh? Anyway, we are at the base, and Rambo meets the leader of the Cobra Kai dojo, who we will find out is the pilot.
And doesn't speak to him?
No, he's real shitty.
I was like, I don't know you, Rambo. I need a little explanation. Like,
Yeah, it really doesn't.
I need something.
It doesn't do anything. It's like,
I was like, is this normal for Rambo?
Right,
Is he like
right.
just a quiet dude?
yeah. The scene in the jungle that's like a couple minutes from now does a little bit of like establishing character, but there is nothing other than the scene where 2 other characters have a very reverse Bechdel test where it's just like, we're only going to talk about Rambo and his credentials. They like just list off all of his awards and his background and like what he's an expert in.
It's basically the song Gaston.
Yeah, no, it's
but about
totally
Rambo.
that. Yeah. Yeah, no one blows up villages like Rambo is the
No
tone.
one shoots like Rambo. No one shoots like Rambo.
Yeah.
No one shoots and he shoots and he shoots like Rambo.
No one blows up bridges with arrows like Rambo. Like, it's so ridiculous. And frankly, points to what you said before of like, he really needs a LeFou. Like, the whole reason that character works.
He does.
Because he has LeFou to make him look even more big.
I hate that he wrote himself a like paper thin, sexy female guide
Yeah.
in place of like something with substance that would have helped balance this out.
Who, as a character, I don't know if it's the actress or if it's written this way, it could be either, frankly, doesn't speak English very well and therefore doesn't get a lot of dialogue.
Mm-hmm. And like has
Or
a
maybe I shouldn't
stupid
say she doesn't speak
shoehorn.
English well. It's just has a very thick accent, so it's hard to understand her, and therefore there's not that much dialogue given to her.
And there's a stupid shoehorned romance that means nothing and goes nowhere.
It might be
Because-
the most insane "oh, they're in love" of anything we've ever watched, and that says a lot.
It's so frustrating because basically up to this point, she has like when the romance. We're jumping ahead. I don't really care. When the romance happens at that point, she has already like snuck into the base, done a bunch of killing to free Rambo.
Yeah, she rules.
And like badasses her way out of there. And rather than like Rambo just really appreciates what this woman did for him, it has to be, well, no, she did it because she's in love with me. And like, no, dude, like she could just be a badass.
Right, exactly. And it's probably more interesting if she just is like, hey, I've lived in a war zone for most of my life, so I'm good at this.
Yeah, because she's like definitely 20 years old max, supposed to be.
Right. And also, like, it's 1985. That character doesn't really exist for women. Ripley is like the exception that proves the rule. Before you tweet at me, I know about Ripley, thank you. But like, so rare does a woman get to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Sarah Connor, because I feel like Sarah Connor wasn't Sarah Connor in the first Terminator.
No, she's not. She's a waitress.
Mm-hmm.
It's not.
She doesn't have those shoulder muscles
It's
yet.
not until the second movie when she's like a hardened badass than just kicking names and taking ass.
Yeah.
I did that backwards on purpose, just to be clear.
I know.
Okay. Well, just for the people out there who are like, oh, that's funny. Flub, just to be clear. She looks awesome as hell in that new trailer, by the way.
She does. I'm so excited to see older people coming back to fulfill iconic roles again, like Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween.
But
and,
also, like
this.
letting there be older women badasses, too. Because, like, I don't have any problem with that archetype, but it has solely been the domain of men with, like, Stallone doing Rambo 4 and all that stuff, where it's like,
Expendables.
oh, my God.
Didn't I feel like Helen Mirren was in one
She
of
was
those.
in Red, yes. But I'm more specifically, that is a good point. More specifically, I was talking about the reprisal of, like, played a badass, playing that same badass now as an older person or an old person, I think is really cool.
And the trailer for that new Terminator shows, like, basically has, like, Schwarzenegger's not doing stuff in that movie.
He is, from what I understand, living in hiding.
Yeah, which, like, I love that. Like, that makes so much sense. That the Terminator would have been like, hey, everything's cool. I'm just going to disappear from the world. I'm not needed right now.
Yeah, and apparently Edward Furlong came back and did some... he's not in the movie, but he did a bunch of dot tracking facial stuff so that they could have more scenes of young Edward Furlong saying things that he didn't say in the original movie. So I'm really intrigued what those flashbacks are going to be like.
That's very curious.
Yeah, I know, but it's like James...
Why didn't they get it? What was he doing that they didn't put him in the movie?
I think meth.
Still? I thought that was like an early 2000s thing for him.
I knew he had some serious drug problems. I have no idea what he looks like.
I knew that,
now.
yeah. That's true.
Like,
although that kid from Stranger Things would be a really good stand-in.
yes, he definitely would have. The brother of...
Every time I see him,
I
I'm
can't
like,
get over it. It kills me. It's like, I'm just
this
looking at...
friggin' Edward Furlong looking motherfucker. Yeah. He and Ben Schwartz. No.
No,
what's his...
I think his name is Joe, the actor, who plays Steve.
John Ralphio, yeah. What's John Ralphio's
Ben Schwartz
actual
is
name?
John Ralphio, you're correct.
Oh.
But the actor in Stranger Things, I think his name is Joe. The character's name is Steve. I don't think I think they look alike, but it is not as like jarring for me as the other guy. Anyway, we should talk about Rambo. We're so in the weeds.
We?
Yeah, because we have to get through this.
He's basically a Suicide Squad on this mission.
Yes, but there is the scene here. So when they meet Charles Napier, we do get your backstory in that Charles Napier reads his dossier.
Mm-hmm. And apparently lies about his own.
Yes. And this is where I was like, this is so cool to have two characters just like talk about stuff instead of having a short montage where we like see, like, use this voiceover and do a montage of like, he saved 52 men in a.
I was like, weren't you the one who said 10 minutes ago that Marvel movies shouldn't have talking and should have montages instead?
Yes. That's what I'm saying. Is like the opposite of what you're supposed to do in a film is tell, don't show. Like just do the same voiceover and have a quick montage. It can't be that much more like shooting time.
Yeah, just pull footage from the first one.
I don't think that there is footage in the first one that would be usul because it really is. It's like a dude running in the woods for an hour. Okay. It's like 30 minutes in town and like an hour of a dude in the woods. So we get like a sweaty prep montage of like Rambo putting a knife in his boot and tying his shoes.
It's so gay.
It's very, very erotic. Then we get on this
like Alexa, play Careless Whisper.
Yeah, exactly. Then we get on this plane and there's this like log sequence of the plane where he like tries to jump out of the plane and he gets stuck and he's like hanging on the side. And all I kept thinking was like, if you came into this movie in 1985. Like, there's certainly none now, but even if you came into this movie in 1985, there's no tension here. I don't believe that Rambo 2 is 17 minutes long and ends with Rambo getting sucked into a propeller and turned into blood mist. Like, I don't believe that.
I was like, this is the dumbest tension that serves no purpose.
Right. Now, if it was Rambo and another guy and he's trying to see that's I'm glad you brought it up because that's totally what this was. They were both hanging out of there and it was Rambo saves the other dude. Makes so much more sense that Stallone just like copy delete.
Yeah.
Because it's I hadn't seen that.
Do you think it was like plane tether to Rambo and then tether to the nerdy guy?
I think they got stuck is my guess. It's like the most tense version of the scene is like somebody jumps and there's like a cords wrapped around a foot or something and someone gets ripped and the other's stuck. And then it's like the other dude's about to get sucked into the propeller and Rambo's trying to free both of them. And then Rambo has to sit like you could do kind of a point break.
Well, no, that's what I mean. Like, do you think that they were like connected together and then it was Rambo was in between the nerdy guy and the plane and he had to be the one to saw it out?
Probably something like that. I don't think they were tethered as in like a tandem jump. I think they were like stuck.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. I think they were supposed to jump separately and they got stuck together.
He does clip something to the plane before he jumps out, and I don't.
So there's definitely a thing I've seen in war movies where until you leave the plane, you're on like a carabiner on a line in the plane, so that if like you did get sucked out, it wouldn't be like you would be stuck to the plane on purpose. Like it would be you're tethered in,
yeah,
and you like walk it up to the thing, and then you unclip to jump. I've seen that in other jump movies,
but that's not what this is.
No, it looks like a belt.
He walks to the opening, clips himself in, and then looks for the green light and jumps. And I was like, I'm confused by that.
Well, that's what I'm saying is he's waiting for the all clear, and until it's all clear, you don't want to be not tethered to the plane.
Yeah, but like it's not like he clips it and walks. Like he like walks to the window and clips the opening and clips it in place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just very weird. Principle. Yeah, but yes,
and
he's like dangling outside the plane, and it's just like there's no way this like it's Rambo 2 is not 17 minutes long. It ends with him just splattered on the back of the tail. Like,
although I would watch the hell out of that.
Yeah,
movie.
No, I would love it. I would love it.
Charles Napier would love it too. Spoiler alert.
He would, because he's evil. So he cuts away. Part of the reason it takes so long in this scene is like they've given Rambo every great gun, every piece of gear, every tracking equipment, every digital who's a what's a bizza thing, like every single piece of gear you could want. And so this is just so that we can get Rambo in the woods with nothing but the bow and arrow, except he still has the bag of magic tips that turn them into bazookas.
Yeah, but again, it harkens back to like, we don't want you to do any fighting, so we're going to give you a small arsenal that can only be rivaled by the movie Tremors.
So I thought he had the gun. I thought he had a gun that he lost, and then I thought he had a bunch of like tracking equipment.
I, for some reason, remember he had like just a ass load of knives.
Oh, he always has ass load of knives. That's Rambo. That's his like signature.
And then like a bunch of guns. And then his bow and arrow and his little Hawkeye thing where he like spins the dial and is like, now it's an explosive. Now it's a poison dart.
If Rambo was a chain restaurant, the knives would be his baby back ribs. If Rambo was an Applebee's, knives would be his baby back ribs.
That was a Chili's.
Yeah, oh, damn it. See, I didn't even get that right. All right, I'm gonna try. If Rambo was a Chili's, his signature item, a la baby back ribs, would be his knives.
The first thing the servers would be trained to pitch would be the knives.
Yeah. You sit down at the table, they're like, well, I hope you're here for our baby back knives, and then they stab him, just like right in the ribs.
Would you like to try our super spicy, sassy jalapeno margarito today? If I don't offer you that, I get a fine.
Is that what they would do at Red Robin?
It would if your there would be things on the table that would like if your server did not offer you this like super sour sassy lemonade, you get a free thing on us.
So they put a bounty on you on the customers? What a bunch of
you
narcs.
had to at least offer.
But what, like, did you get dinged if you didn't do it?
I don't remember because I didn't work there very long. Yeah. It was 1,000 years ago. But I would imagine you get something.
That's insane. But anyway, Rambo jumps out of the plane and ends up in Jurassic Park, which is cool and weird.
Conspicuously, they don't show you him landing or falling or anything.
Well, that's really expensive. And also, he's not going to jump out of any planes because he's the biggest star in the world. It's not like now where Tom Cruise is like, I want my death to be filmed by a large crew of people, and I want to make other people eventually watch that.
Yeah, but I don't mean like that. Like, there's not even like him hanging in a tree and he has to like pull the cord and fall. It's just all of a sudden he's walking around, and I was like, hang on, something happened between point A and C. I don't need to see Rambo like everything, but like show me him in the tree.
Right.
Show me him at least like have him jump, then start filming so he like lands on the ground.
Yeah.
Like anything that shows me.
You can very easily like put him in a harness, attach a harness to the crane, and just like have him jump, like do the coming to the ground part of the jump.
Yeah, because he still has a parachute. Right. That still worked.
But I do like this shorthand of like, how badass is Rambo? Oh, well, he bare hands a snake.
Definitely real and not rubber snake.
A scene you think, what a throwaway line. Oh, you'd be wrong. Guess what Rambo's job is in Rambo 4?
Snake handler?
Clearing snakes.
Is he St. Patrick?
Basically, yes. No shillelagh, though. Only a bow.
Fair. And then there's someone in one of those stereotypical Asian conical rice paddy hat in the middle of the jungle, and I was like, that's super, like, that's really conspicuous. Right. What are we doing here?
Very, very easy to spot what you're wearing.
And it's it's a girl. Yeah. And people speak Vietnamese throughout this movie and not a lick of subtitles.
Yeah. Well, it's also weird because Rambo speaks it.
Yeah.
So, like, for
characters speak it to each other.
From an audience perspective, like, how about we just know what's happening?
Mm-hmm. I understand sometimes if Rambo doesn't understand Vietnamese and they're speaking it or whatever, but like everyone in this world is supposed to know what that means.
Right.
You're inviting us into the world. Clue us in.
Right. And here we get Rambo's first attempt at a one-liner where she asks why he was late, and he says that he got hung up.
You're not Arnold.
Right.
Get out of here.
You do not have the gravitas for this. I'm very sorry to tell you.
Although, honestly, cut to Batman and Robin, and I feel like Stallone has the exact same level of word power for those stupid puns.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong.
Did you know Sly Stallone was in a Spy Kids movie?
Doesn't surprise me.
He plays like 3 different parts.
Really?
All of them. Yeah. It's like a mad scientist and then like a bald monk guy and then a businessman, I think. And I want to say it's the 3D one that I never really saw.
Okay.
But he's in that. And I'm always like, what are you doing here? I see pictures and I'm like, what is happening?
So we get like a lot of dialogue between him and her in this sequence. And the thing that's tough here is like, he's still playing Rambo from Rambo 1 in this sequence, but this movie is so tonally different than that first movie that it just is so out of place. He has this like all shucks puppy dogness to his performance, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
Of like,
I would agree.
He's like really sad and talks about all the friends that he's lost and how he like came home and nobody wanted anything to do with them and so on and so forth. But then like 20 minutes from now, he's just blowing away a village of people. Like they're bad guys, they're shooting at him. It's not just like an innocent village, but it's so weird of like the second half of this movie is a 10 out of 10 in terms of broad nonsense. And in the first half, it's like almost that broad. And instead we have Stallone doing this performance. It sticks out so much.
It's really weird. They also, so there's a moment when, so I guess a bunch of pirates take them down the river, and Stallone asks, like, what do we do if someone attacks us? And they say, oh, we have this. And they lift a secret compartment and pull out a missile launcher that very clearly has Russian writing on it, the Cyrillic alphabet. Yeah. And they kind of do a bit of a zoom, so you see it. And they put it away. And I was like, oh, so the Russians are supplying. Cool. Yeah. That was a great moment of show, don't tell. 3 seconds later, Stallone goes and picks it up and goes, this is Russian. And I was like, yes, thank you, Sly.
Thank you for circling it
That's
with the
correct.
highlighter. Thank you for circling it with a highlighter, because apparently we're playing fucking Blue's Clues.
Yeah, yes, he's blue.
It's like, hey,
and
I just figured out Red's clues, because it's like red like the commies. Oh, wait, that's the other ones where I fight the Russians. Oh, no, now I fight the Russians in both of them.
I can't keep it straight. We're just gonna put Russians in both. Basically, he showed up to set, and if they put boxing gloves on his hands or guns in his hands, was how he knew what he was shooting.
Exactly. And the hair's a little different.
Slightly. But the military people are like, hey, he got sucked out of an airplane and was not over his drop zone, so we should probably just assume he's dead.
Yeah. And then, of course, Richard Crenna's like, nothing can kill the Rambo. I know that's not a good Richard Crenna impression, just to be clear. It's not good.
And they're like, I mean, I guess, but like, what if he is just like, did you see the new Predator?
Yeah.
Not the newest, but the last one? Where they were on a planet?
Yes.
And there's that first guy who just parachute doesn't open, and he just like...
He Star Trek dies.
Yeah, he full crunches. Yeah. Like, there's a very real possibility that could have happened to Rambo.
Absolutely, it could have. I also like the bit where she and Rambo are talking, and she has this necklace on, and he's like, what's that? And she's like, my good luck charm. And she's like, don't you have one of those? And he goes, yeah, and he pulls his knives out.
He basically like swaddles them at night.
Oh, for sure.
And like puts them to bed.
He lovingly, tenderly wraps them up and puts them in bed next to him. 100%.
He like gently goes up and down on the strop, on a leather strop to like hone it every night. Like, that's it, baby. So Stallone comes across is this the only encampment? Because it feels like there's like 4. But also only one. Like, this movie is very unclear.
Well, they do talk about, like, it moving around and stuff, so I'm unclear if, like, Stallone... Like, the timeline of how long he's in the woods is incredibly unclear to follow to me. Like, I have no idea.
Is it a day?
Right. It could be a month.
Is it a week?
I have no idea. But it seems like there's, like, outposts of the main camp is sort of the vibe that I get, but I really don't know. The movie certainly doesn't take the time to explain it.
Yeah, but because, like, he sees the prisoners there... And then they're all in a cage.
And he immediately is like, I will disregard the orders that I have.
Because then he sees one guy left out in the elements.
Right. He's been, like, nearly crucified, basically.
Yeah. And he's like, well, I have to save this guy immediately right now, regardless of what my orders are. And it turns into a really bad video game escort mission.
This whole movie is basically Far Cry. I don't know if you ever played those games, but it is.
I did not.
I've seen Rambo 1. I'm like 90% sure. Most of these movies were like ones I caught on cable in pieces. I don't know that I've ever like deliberately sought out a Rambo movie before.
Fair.
But Far Cry, as a game series, I really enjoy. And it's like watching this movie is like, oh, this is just Far Cry. Like they just adapted Rambo.
See, to me, the movie feels like the Vietnamese woman who's his guide was like, oh, you have to rescue that soldier, but be careful. He has bad allergies, and if you stay still in the grass too long, he'll sneeze. Because that's what happens.
No, it is.
He's like, they're like hiding from like a light or from a guy, and he's like, achoo. And I'm like, this is just a shitty escort mission with stupid arbitrary rules. Yep. And then like, as someone who plays video games, they have the guys up top on the towers with a light, and like, if you make a noise, they shine the light. And Rambo shoots the guy while the light's still on. And I was like, no, you wait till they turn it off, and then you get them.
Well, by shooting that guy, he's no longer pointing the light at them.
I guess, but the light's still on. People would be like, "Why is this light pointing at the ground randomly?"
I have to say this. So they escape for a bit, him and this POW, and this guy gives a really, really good performance for this one scene.
I thought all the POWs did.
I agree with that broadly, but this guy in particular, I really want to single out here because there's this really moving, seriously, moving bit that he does where he asks Rambo what year it is. Like he tells him what's been going on, and then he asks what year it is, and Rambo says it's 1985, and this guy, it's like he got hit in the gut with a sledgehammer. I mean, it is brutal to watch.
It's brilliant.
And it's all in the eyes. It's just like some micro eye movements, but my God, is this great. Like this dude suddenly realizes the way he looks, it's like, oh, I've been here for 2 years. Like this has been hell for 2 years.
Also to recap for everyone, Rambo was tasked to go in, take photos, and leave.
Yep.
What he did instead was take no photos, rescue one prisoner out of 15, we'll say.
It's more than 15. I think it's like close to 20, it looks like.
Kill a bunch of Vietnamese soldiers and then just leave with the one POW, which just feels like it's not a good idea.
No, it's certainly not. And it's also like why are you saying this one guy assumedly would be like, hey, this is great and all, but there's a lot of friends of mine back there.
But it made no sense why. Wouldn't they just be like, oh, if they're going to kill our men, if they're going to sneak in here, save one guy, kill all our men, we're just going to kill all these prisoners.
Right. They would just kill them all instantly.
If Rambo had gone in guns in was it Predator 2 we covered? Predator 1 is in the jungle. If he had done the run the truck into the village and rescue that would make so much more sense.
Right.
Than I'm going to rescue one person, kill a lot of people, and run away.
Well, especially in light of the fact that later in this movie, we see how much of an arsenal he had and how good he is at using it. It's like, why didn't you just do that then? Instead of the mad dash to get this one guy. And I guess it's he wasn't thinking clearly, but still, it just seems very stupid.
Yeah. And so they run over to the pirate boat, and rather than dive under some covers and hide, Rambo stands and poses on the front of the boat like friggin' Jack in Titanic.
He's like the mermaid on the front of the pirate ship.
He is.
Hey, I'm the good luck charm. And then this is where we get
the pirates double cross them.
Yeah. This scene is incredible. The squibs. Oh,
and makes no sense.
Well, yeah, of course not. But Rambo fighting back against these dudes and just massacring all of them is the pinnacle of stupid action movie stuff.
Yeah, but there's a man staring at his back, and he reaches behind his back into his secret knife hidey hole, and pulls two knives out. Well, no, I duct tape a gun to my upper back.
I see.
With wrapping paper tape. There's a man staring at his back, and he pulls out his two secret knives, and this man doesn't do anything.
No, he just watches him do it.
He does have a gun, though. Has a gun that he could have shot Rambo with.
Super
the phrase,
has a gun. It's a very long
bring a knife to a gunfight. The phrase that means you're underprepared because the gun is better.
Right. Also, it's a giant shotgun that's like the one in Terminator that they used to blow holes in the T-1000.
Yeah. So yeah, they see the other boat coming with the Vietnamese army. Would that be the phrase? The Vietnamese army?
So I don't know. I don't know what the proper term would be. And frankly, I'm guessing this is not the proper army.
Yeah. So the bad guys, we'll say, blanket term. They see the bad guy boat coming up on them, and Rambo shoots all these guys. The lady guide and the POW jump off the boat. And then Rambo shoots the Russian missile launcher at the other boat. It's a great I will say, the explosions in this movie are impeccable. They are impeccable explosions.
They are, frankly, the measure by which movie explosions should be measured against.
Yeah. If you find a YouTube compilation of all the explosions in Rambo in 1080p, watch that.
Yeah, for sure.
But so he jumps off the boat, and the guide just goes, "You did it, Rambo," and claps for him. And I was like, what?
Yeah, her whole character is insane.
It feels very patronizing, when you get off a ride at Universal and they all clap for you.
I actually think that's my favorite part of theme parks, where they're like, you survived a roller coaster that 6,000 people will survive today.
It's just I don't know, but no, it's because every ride at Universal does the clap. Every single one.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. That's weird.
I hope that as we exit all these haunted houses, they're going to be just, yay, you did it.
No, it's just unenthused people with light up wands waving them in one direction. So Rambo, the woman disappears.
Well,
She's like,
wait. You can't gloss over the franchise launching line that happens right here.
I did.
She and her
gloss
have a
over that
powwow.
in my mind.
She and Rambo have a powwow, and she says to Rambo, "You're not expendable."
Only after he teaches her what expendable is.
Yes, but she says, "You're not expendable." And
I'm gonna shit all over this movie. I don't care.
no, I'm
the
saying
whole
that
point.
we had to sit there. They made 4 goddamn trash movies about the Expendables because of this one stupid line in Rambo.
Oh, is that where that came from?
I mean, obviously, the expendable is a term that's not exclusive to the Rambo franchise, but I was like, oh, certainly he was rewatching his own movie and came up with this.
Yes. He has to teach her what expendable means. And I was like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
And so he and the POW are running across the rice paddy fields.
And,
Is that what those are?
Yeah, and they're getting mortar shells launched at them. It's just like explosions everywhere.
It feels like the least efficient way to kill someone who is maybe 100 yards away from you.
Yeah, I mean, it does encompass a large area if you're not a good shot.
So the chopper gets close and they're like, Rambo has a guy with him. And like, understandably at first, Charles Napier is like, that was 100% not the mission.
Right. Like, hey, pal, what you doing there? You're not alone anymore, huh?
So did you take pictures of the other prisoners for us?
Like, oh, no, okay then.
And so Charles Napier's like, hey, abort the mission, get out of there. And Troutman gets coerced with a gun to leave.
Yeah, so we have our second double cross of the movie. And then there's like, it was all a write-off. You knew he was gonna do it. And so at this point, I'm like, wait, was the jump a setup? Like, is that why he got stuck when he got out of the plane? Like, did they try to kill him? And then no, we find out that was not part of the plan. But it's like, well, wouldn't it have made your plane easier if he had just died right then? Like, it should have been part of your plan.
But wouldn't it have made the plan easier to not get the best of the best?
Yeah,
like, why didn't Charles Napier be like, hey, no, I have the perfect man, and it's like his toady who just like parachutes directly to the pickup location, waits there for 36 hours, and then they pick him up.
It's like it's Derek in accounts payable who's like, excuse me, guys, I'm not trained for this operation. I only went tandem jumping one time.
And I had the instructor strapped to me.
This is a very advanced type of jump, and I do not feel adequately prepared for this.
Yeah, so I was like, if Charles Napier's whole point was that like we don't want to find POWs, we want to save, I guess he wanted to save money. Was that what it was? Time, money, and resources.
I don't quite get what their plan was. Like, it seems like the idea was that Rambo would get killed, and then maybe they could like start another war, but. If that's what they wanted, then they just need to know the POWs were there. It's all very confusing to me.
Yeah, he was like, if we don't find POWs, we can pull out of this war. But if we find POWs, everyone's going to want to go back in. And I was like, yeah, if you didn't want to, if you purposely didn't want to find anyone, why were you like, you know what? Let's definitely get this guy. Just get Joe Schmo.
Or honestly, like, you know what else would have been a great plan? Just ruin all the film that you give the person.
Well, that's what Troutman says.
Right.
He's like, if he had brought back film, it would have disappeared, wouldn't it? And like, no, you know what we could have done? Just taken our own photos, doctored our own photos, staged our own photos.
Exactly.
So it just feels very like, look how savage these people are. Like, they put him in pig poop in a jockstrap.
Well, they hit. Is it pig poop? I thought it was a pit full of leeches, like bad water
and pig poop.
Yeah. Okay.
Because there were pigs and a slidey thing,
Yeah.
so all their poop went down the slide into Rambo's.
So it's a latrine pit.
Yes. And this is the guy that was supposed to be Dolph Lundgren.
Would have been much more intimidating than this. Like this guy has sort of the vibe.
This Lucius Malfoy looking fucker.
I actually was thinking of what's Christoph Waltz.
Oh,
like of the like quiet, unassuming guy, and then it turns out he's a real evil SOB. But this dude doesn't have the acting chops to pull off the turn.
He does not have that. What is Christoph? Has Christoph Waltz done anything
Yeah,
lately?
he's in a lot of stuff. He's just bouncing around.
Oh, I feel like I don't see him. They punch Rambo a lot and then strap him to a metal bed and electrocute him a lot.
And then they're going to burn him. They burn him and he still won't talk. And they're like, all right, well, I'm going to burn this guy instead because it seems like that would bother you. And Rambo's like, oh no, they're going to burn my new friend. And then he just like hulks out and kills a bunch of people.
But like, so this is where I'm very confused because they're like, I want you to radio your people, your home base, and say you've been captured and going to be killed and don't send anyone after you. And I was like, okay, that's weird.
Well, it's a trap.
And then they're like, but then he's like, to make him do this, I'm going to tell him he was actually abandoned by his own military. And I was like, then why the hell would he do any of this?
Yeah, I guess, like, to me, it's like they're just trying to set up a trap, right? Where they're like, don't come get me. I'm at this coordinates, but you can't come. And then they're going to come anyway.
Oh, see, I didn't think he was telling them actually where he was. I thought he was just like, hey, I've been kidnapped and they're going to kill me.
No, I thought they wanted him. I thought he was like, you need to tell them where you are so they'll come get you and we can kill all of them.
Clearly the movie wasn't clear.
Yeah, obviously.
All those fanboys are going to be tweeting at us like, you're wrong.
Rambo, I like that.
At this timestamp, clearly they say. So this is where...
there's actually kind of a clever thing, and I wish that she got more respect for it later because I think it's Cho Ba is the character's name, but she comes back...
Cho Bao.
Cho Bao, okay.
Maybe.
She has like a big, gigantic machine gun, and he sees her outside and like starts this fight.
Well, she sneaks in as a prostitute because she knows prostitutes show up regularly. So she's like flirts her way in, kills a guy, sneaks out around, and goes under the hut where they're keeping Rambo and like lies in wait and makes eye contact with him so he knows she's there when he's ready.
Yeah, and then like she's the real reason he gets out because he like causes a little distraction and she just blows away two guys with this giant machine gun.
Yeah.
So we get like another like, okay, let's catch our breath scene, and it's the two of them.
They also leave the POW in the hut. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I don't think he will. I thought he was like gonna make a stand and not go, but yeah, I don't know how that went down. It seems very strange.
It was the POW he had originally rescued was in the hut while Rambo was being tortured, and they were like, we're gonna just put this hot knife through his eyeball if you don't do it. And then when Rambo says he'll radio, they throw him to the ground. And then we don't see him again. Right. And then Rambo runs away with the lady. And I was like, but what about that guy that you were, who was the most important person to rescue?
Like, was the radio room a different room and they just all kind of look the same because the set design is not that good?
No, I think it was all the same room.
Well, anyway, we have that scene from Supernatural where the two characters sit on the hood of the car and talk about their feelings. And it's Rambo and Cho Bao, and they're talking about, like,
take me away from all this, Rambo.
And then they kiss.
You're my only hope.
Then they kiss, and I'm like, oh, she's definitely about to get killed. Like, I knew she got killed because I knew that's where the headband came from, but I was like, oh, she's definitely about to die if she just kissed him.
And yeah, so this love is useless because she's like, I love you, Rambo, takes 2 steps and gets shot like Bambi's mom.
No. She is immediately killed by 100 bullets. This is not Bambi's mom with like a carefully placed shot and she's dead. They basically turn her into pudding.
Yeah, and so he holds her and kisses her, and I was like, you know what you could have just appreciated, Rambo? That she's a badass who saved your life. Like, it could have just been appreciation.
Yeah, but like, it could have just been, they could be friends, you know? Like, it could just be like...
That's what I mean. Yeah. It doesn't have to be romantic.
And if it is going to be romantic, you could have, I don't know, any scene that implies that's coming.
Any dialogue that sets that up. We then get the fakest looking and sounding rain in a movie I've ever seen.
Yes, but this is the like, all right, I'm going to kill all these motherfuckers montage. And you get like these insane things, including...
They made one mistake. They left me alive.
And there's even like a Predator kill where he's covered. Although I guess Predator steals it from this because Predator.
This whole thing is Predator kills.
But Predator came second, so this is, I guess, all of Predator is Rambo kills.
I guess
it's just that Schwarzenegger, I think, is the better actor of the two of them at this.
Oh my God, yes.
But he even does the like he covers himself in mud and then like pops off the wall and stabs a guy.
So one guy gets pulled into a tree somehow. and I'm still unclear how that
it's
happened.
definitely a predator type trap, but we don't see him make it.
Yeah. And then he kills this village's chickens just to provide a diversion.
Yes.
And I was like, but like that's someone's food.
Yeah.
Like that's someone's livelihood.
Exactly. And also what is going to happen when Gaston shows up and is like, hey, you owe me 6 eggs every single day, and now I'm going to just beat you. Can we talk about just briefly how
the economics
of Gaston eating 6 eggs a day is like enough to cripple that village? Chickens,
they would be overrun with chickens.
They would have to be, because chickens, I looked this up, chickens lay an egg every other day. So you get about 180 eggs a year per chicken. Gaston is eating 60 eggs every single day.
Yes.
The number of chickens you need is astounding. Anyway.
60 times 365 would be like 1900?
That seems too high, but maybe.
36 times 60. Yeah, it's about 1800.
No. Wait, hold on. 60 eggs a day times 365 days is 21,900 eggs. And
18,000. That's what I meant.
So 21,000 eggs a year. Okay.
Divide by 180.
Yes, and that's 122 chickens.
Minimum.
Yes, minimum. Because, like, it's an average of one day, so you got to have some.
You're just doing 100. Just get 150
yeah,
chickens.
Exactly.
Just make it.
Exactly. You're rounding up because he's a psycho. Plus, other people need to eat, but just Gaston's portion is about 125 chickens.
Because that woman orders 6
yes,
eggs.
Exactly.
And if they do the same thing every day, she orders 6 eggs every day.
Exactly.
Time loop.
Anyway, this has been our Beauty and the Beast corner of our Rambo 2 podcast. My favorite part of this is, like, there's a bunch of really great fire and explosion stunts here, but there's, like, a final standoff where it's like one guy with a pistol and Rambo with his bow, and they're, like, taking shots at each other. The dude with the pistol can't hit Rambo. Rambo can't hit him. So he loads up.
I think that's also part of what annoyed me, that, like, no one seems to be able to hit Rambo.
Yeah, he needs to get shot. Like, he needs to take some wounds and keep on ticking.
John McClane walked through glass. Like,
right.
Stuff
but
happened.
That's the difference, is like John McClane was a real, not to get all like esoteric about action movies, but John McClane was a real turning point in that, like, the hero is super duper vulnerable and he's just a guy who gets his ass handed to him, but he keeps going. Like, he's a Timex watch is the whole joke of, like, he just keeps on ticking. Whereas, like, Rambo's a superhero, he's just not called one. He's not wearing a cape.
Yeah, that's fair.
But anyway, Rambo screws on an explosive tip and hits this dude's center mass with it, and he turns into just smithereens of blood. It's like when Jaws gets blown up.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's crazy over the top that this one guy gets blown up like that.
And then we get a helicopter water fight where Rambo jumps out of the water into the helicopter.
He grabs the skid with one hand, does a one-handed pull-up, and then, like, gets into the helicopter.
And if you muted this, it just looks like rough gay porn. It's just two sweaty, muscly dudes rolling around choking each other.
He finally gets the better of this guy, like, does like a monkey flip and throws him out of the plane, or chopper rather. And then he just looks at the helicopter driver who's like, see ya, and he takes a header.
It's Michael Caine in Goldmember, where he's like, you don't even have a name tag. Just lie on the ground right now. Save me the trouble.
Exactly. Like, I'm not going to bother. But then it turns into a helicopter mission to belay your video game analogy before. It's just like, oh, now's the mission where you're flying a helicopter and you have a special POV view.
Hey, this ravine's pretty tight. You got to be careful down there. I've packed you some extra grenades in there to help clear the path.
Exactly. Look for the blinking red beacon. That's where your pickup point is.
Also, a stuntman died in one of these explosions on this movie.
Oh my gosh, that's so sad.
I know. I was like, also, it's like when the stuntman or stunt coordinator passed during, was it Twilight Zone?
A lot of people died in the Twilight Zone. There's 2 children and
no,
died on Twilight Zone.
Because of a helicopter, right? Yeah, it's just like, oh god.
They also have, I think, the biggest explosion I've ever seen in a movie that wasn't like a building going up. When the beginning of this chopper sequence, it drops a bomb that's like the size of a large water barrel, and it's just like,
yeah, it's one of the Jaws water barrels. And then so this is where he lands his helicopter, runs over to the jail.
First he takes the 50 caliber machine gun off the side so he can do the iconic Rambo pose of, like, him one-arming a gun that a human being shouldn't be able to hold.
Yes. Yeah, so he basically, like, lands, like puts his flashers on, lands in the no parking zone in front of Target, runs inside, grabs his curbside pickup POWs, runs them all back into the helicopter, and just takes off again.
Well, one guy does get shot, which is like the most telegraphed thing ever.
Yeah, of course. And then they take off, and the Russians take off on another helicopter, and this helicopter has missile launchers and still can't aim worth a shit.
To be fair, if my experience playing video games is anything like real life, chopper v chopper fighting and plane v plane fighting, etc., are basically impossible.
But like, even at the point when they damage Rambo's helicopter and he can't keep it steady, he's like clearly on a trajectory down. They're not like, you know what? Let's just get behind and above, aim down. There we go.
Yeah.
And then later they like the chopper somehow disappears from view.
It teleports, like it gets shot and it's wounded, and then like the Russian chopper can't find him, and then suddenly he's like a quarter of a mile away down along the water and looks like he's dead. He's literally playing dead.
So it's a weird thing where like if this had been people, not helicopters, the scene makes much more sense, because this helicopter comes around the bend of these trees, sees Rambo's helicopter, somehow from 100 yards away and up in the air, he can see that Rambo looks dead in the front driver's seat of the plane, of the helicopter.
Yes, the guy has eagle eyes.
And rather than just fire, like unload the clip, just blow this thing the hell up. Instead, they pull the helicopter all the way in till basically they're kissing. And then as he's about to hit the switch, Rambo pops up from playing possum and fires his his missile launcher.
It's
what
so
the hell?
stupid.
This is so dumb.
It's so stupid. But it is a cool explosion.
It's a great explosion, but like whatever. And then the sneaky a-hole Charles Napier guy is still hanging out for some reason. He hasn't been like, hey, this mission was a failure, we gotta go. Everybody
right,
out.
and also they're like, certainly they would be aware of what Rambo's doing at this point, I would think, and maybe there wouldn't be, but Rambo radios in, he's like, I'm coming home with the prisoners, and then I'm coming for you, Murdoch. So he like lands, he grabs this giant machine gun, and then he like chokes Charles Napier, slams him onto the desk.
No, first he punches the one guy.
Oh, Cobra Kai guy gets decked, yes.
Cobra Kai is like, glad you're home.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? You should have all left.
Yeah.
All the people who abandoned him would have been like, I'm out.
Done. We're
Deuces.
so screwed. Let's get out of here. He
you need to be tripping over yourselves, hopping a fence, like the end, like Christmas Story.
Yeah, the one dude can fly helicopters. Get in one and get out. He's gonna kill you.
Yeah. So Rambo goes in and just shoots up all the computers, which like that's why part of this movie feels like old people yelling at technology.
Oh, for sure, it does.
And then Rambo like throws him onto the table and goes, "Mission accomplished," and stabs his knife into the table,
like right near his head.
And he's like, you know where all the rest of them are because of your fancy computers. Go save those men. And I was like, except he doesn't, because you broke all the computers.
Yes.
All of that information is gone now.
And then he gets into like a real big fight with his superior where he's like, we just want our country to love us as much as we love it. And I'm just like, oh my God, with this nonsense.
It feels so ham-fisted.
It's just not that movie. Like the quiet character study of like the abandoned Vietnam guy doesn't make sense when he just blew up a village of people.
And then but then at the end, he's like, you're going to get a Medal of Honor for this. And he's like, you know what? They're the real heroes. And then you pay him back to the POWs. I'm like, you're all actors. Yeah. None of you are real. None of you are veterans.
Well, all right. I mean, it's a line in the movie. It's not talking about the actors as...
It just feels so unnecessarily preachy.
It's not as bad as the scene in Battleship where all of the World War II guys are the only ones that know how to make the only boat that's functional work. So they do Back in Black to a bunch of men in their 70s and 80s who are actual veterans, like getting this ship ready, and it's supposed to be this like cool pump up scene like in a superhero movie, and instead it's a bunch of old men shuffling their feet because they're all 75 and older basically.
Yeah.
And then Rambo walks to Thailand as the credits begin.
This movie's
because
dumb.
The next movie starts with him in Thailand stick fighting.
Gotcha.
I'm guessing I know the answer to this just like earlier, but would you recommend Rambo 2?
No, find a compilation of the explosions on YouTube in 1080p and watch that, because they're great explosions.
Yeah, the movie parts of this movie are not good. The stunt parts of this movie are legitimately great. Like the action stuff is awesome, and I definitely see why some like this stuff got ripped off so much, because it is so good. Like it's over the top, yes, but it's over the top in the fun, very watchable way. I think many great action movies came after this, but I really like a lot of the action stuff in this. But the movie itself is not good.
That's fair.
This is like the worst of Stallone acting. Not that I think the bar is necessarily, in the 80s anyway, all that high, but this is bad.
Other than Rocky, is there a good?
Well, I just said that the Rocky, I thought he was award-worthy.
So Rocky 1, Rocky Balboa, and Creed.
I don't think Rocky Balboa is in the same... I think Creed is the best of all those by a real wide margin. But I'm sure there are other Stallone things I'm not thinking of. I'm not super well versed on the guy. Certainly, Stop or My Mom Will Shoot is one of the all-times.
Estelle Getty.
But yeah, I'm not the hugest of Stallone fans, although obviously I like the Rocky movies, for as dumb as they are. But yeah, this is not the high point for me.
No.
Thank you all so much for listening to the show. I hope that if you're a Rambo head, you really enjoy Rambo Last Blood. I will not be seeing you at the movies for that, but I hope you really enjoy it. We will be back to start the spooktacular in 2 weeks. Until then, there are a couple quick things you can do. The first is check us out on Patreon, as we said at the top of the show, patreon.com/dissectingthe80s. You can find all sorts of fun tiers that'll tell you what's coming up in the show. Check out the Patreon tiers. You can get everything from just new information about the show and our monthly newsletter to bonus episodes to making your own choice for what our listener request month stuff is with a much lower odds, right? You don't get thrown in the general pile. You do that $10 tier for a year and you get to pick a movie, which is pretty great and may not be around forever. So take advantage of that while you can.
Yeah. And if you're on Patreon, the day this comes out, you can maybe listen to our interview with the creative team at Universal Orlando.
Yeah,
for Halloween Horror Nights.
That should be up by today for sure, unless things have gone crazy and not out of our control. There'll also be some video that we're going to shoot while we're down there. We'll try to put some of that stuff up too. Put that together for y'all. If you missed it on the last episode, we're getting to cover the Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios Orlando, which is something we've always wanted to do, and that's thanks to our Patreon supporters. So we're really, really grateful for that. You can also check us out at Dissect the 80s on Twitter, Dissecting the 80s on Facebook. Well, we love hearing from you. Email dissectingthe80s@gmail.com. If you got a comment, question, you want us to weigh in on something for you, we'll try and help you out. Don't forget to rate and review the show wherever you get it. If you don't do it on iTunes, take a screenshot and send it to us, and we will read that on the air. It's been a while since we got one, so we'd love to hear your review. So send it our way. Thank you so much for listening. We will be back on October 7th with Night of the Comet. I've been Trip Lano.
I will always be Andrew Lano.
Until October 7th.
Don't you forget about me.
Dissecting the 80s is a Chum Some of This production.